Hi everybody, Jason Vey here. I was the lead designer on the 5th edition Player's Guide to Aihrde that you are currently kickstarting. I just wanted to come on and expand on what Steve was talking about earlier by taking a focus on the design elements that we are including in this. While Aihrde is an outstanding campaign setting, and we're sure that it's going to win everybody over because it's gritty, it doesn't have any um, like iconic NPCs that are going to take the limelight away from your characters. It doesn't have any meta plot that you're going to be tied to, so you don't feel like you can go one way or another. But at the same time, it's really detailed. It's got 10,000 years of history, and you can really make it your own. So you have all the tools you need to really build your own game without doing all the work of the history and the cultures and things like that is all set up for you already. So um, we're really excited to bring that to the 5th edition players. But at the same time, the 5th edition Player's Guide to Aihrde is also designed to be excellent for any 5th edition campaign. It is full of new character sub-races. There's 5 or 6 different types of elves. There are sub-races for gnomes. There are sub-races for dwarves, for halflings. There's a new halfling sub-race. And they all have their own flavor too. The halfling subrace, for example, are like barbaric. They're like nomadic barbarian wanderers, which isn't something you normally hear from halflings. So it really gives you a different direction you can take your game in, like new options that people haven't seen before. We also have new subclasses. The class archetypes, paths, paladin oaths, bard colleges, all that good stuff. Um, and those are also kind of tied into our world, but great to expand to any 5th edition game. Um, for example, we have new class archetypes that are kind of tied to our races. So there's an elven blade mage, which mixes magic and swordplay in a very specific kind of way, and it's intended to be for the high elves, but you could always play a character who was raised among the high elves and has learned their fighting style as a result. We've also brought in the rune mark, which is an entirely new type of magic that works off of the warlock class, but makes a few core changes to the class. It allows you to explore a whole new form of magical science and practice. Instead of casting spells, you have these runes that you can carve into things, and they give you a broad control over various areas of magic. But we've really tried to stick with the 5th edition paradigm. So everything is done in sub-races, in class archetypes and paths, things like that. We also have some new rules subsystems that you can plug in. One of the ones that I personally enjoy the most is the inspiration points system. Whereas in 5th edition as it stands, you either have inspiration or you don't, which often leads to groups who either have inspiration all the time or their GM never gives them inspiration at all. This way, you can build points. You'll have 4 or 5 inspiration points, and yes, you can use it just to get advantage on your roll like normal inspiration, but you can also use it for things like getting a plot break in a story, making saving throws, avoiding attacks. There's a bunch of different uses for these inspiration points, so that they allow you a little more narrative control as a player, a little more player agency. Um, and they're an optional inclusion in there. There's also a ton of new spells in here, standard wizard, sorcerer, warlock spells. There are new clerical domains. There are just a whole bunch of things that will take any class or race to the next level in your 5th edition game. And then, of course, we have a primer to the world of Aihrde in there, which is actually something a lot of our Castles and Crusades fans have been asking about, which may make it into the next printing of our Castles and Crusades Player's Guide. But it's kind of a quick primer to get you started on the world of Aihrde, to let you know where everything is, an overview of the cultures. Of course, there's a section on all of the gods, and we've kind of brought back something from earlier editions of the game, of what is now the 5th edition fantasy game, where deities give your clerics extra weapon proficiencies and special granted abilities based on worshipping them. I think that's pretty cool. For our Castles and Crusades fans, there's actually an appendix in there that talks about bringing certain 5th edition mechanics into your C&C games. We have an appendix in there on using black powder firearms in your 5th edition games, which is something that exists in Aihrde. So yeah, it's really packed full of cool stuff for any 5th edition game, but at the same time, it's not generic. It's very tied into the world setting that we produce, and every race and every new class has its own flavor, its own very distinct flavor, which can easily be dropped into any 5th edition game and enhance that game as well without just being yet another generic option. So, and I just want to take a quick chance to show you some of our other books so that you can get an idea for our graphic design and layout that you'll be seeing in this if you're not already a Trollord fan. So these are our Castles and Crusades versions of the Player's Guide to Aihrde. So this is what the C&C version looks like, and you will probably get something similar to this with the 5th edition one. Of course, it'll have different logos and might have slightly different cover art. Here is, see if I can find a good section in here to show you. So here's an example of what the inside looks like. A little bit there. So again, this is not the 5th edition version, which hasn't been printed yet. However, the manuscript is complete. It's complete. It's had an editing pass. It's had a 5th edition playtest and review. So this is a Kickstarter that's going to be ready to go to press very fast after we're done. So there's not going to be a lot of waiting, we hope, barring disasters. This is the Codex of Aihrde, which is also in our Kickstarter right now, and I apologize that everything seems to be mirror imaged. That's my webcam. So this is what the Codex of Aihrde looks like, and this is the exact codex. If you go on a pledge level that gets the codex, this is what you're going to get. So you can see it's pretty thick, and it's completely system free. You can use this setting in any game, any system. It's all the information you need on the world. It also comes with a fold-out map of the continent, which I'm not going to fold it out because it's huge, but there's a graphic of it on the Kickstarter that you can see. If you're interested in what the leathers look like, these are the leather versions of the Codex and the Castles and Crusades Player's Guide to Aihrde. So and the insides look the same as the standard versions. That's the leather covers. So the spines right there. So they're really nice. I have a shelf full of these things, and I love them. So hopefully you guys will too. So that's a little bit about the design, and I hope that answers some questions you guys might have. And we hope you'll keep bidding. Thanks.